Hello all, I'm Dr. Catherine Kairuli, Assistant Professor in Department of English, Bishop Weber College. Today we are going to learn about Ovid's Pyramus in Thisbe. The poem is an extract from the great epic called Metamorphoses, written by Ovid, originally written in Latin. So the poem is basically translated and also a prototype of most of the Greek and English Romance stories, be it a poem or a play. Lot of writers like Dante, Shakespeare, Boccaccio have been influenced by this great writing and has used this love plot and the rest of the plots, be it the deification of Julius Caesar, and there are lots of other plots which already make this particular poem a great epic. So we're going to look into the poem Pyramus and action to the poem. As you could see, it's part of Ovid's Metamorphoses, book 4. This poem is basically 11,995 lines consisting of 250 myths and 15 books. The tale of a forbidden love between two young lovers in Babylon is the main theme behind the poem Pyramus in Thisbe, and it's often regarded as the early prototype of tragic love stories. All love stories include romance, and then there is one particular idea where there is a feud between the families and eventually the star-struck children fall in love, and then the feud fuels the feud between the families, and then they get separated, and then they eventually find a place where they can be together, and it is always a tragic love story. The tragic flaw becomes either the feud between the families or the love itself. So we're going to see about these love-struck children who are very young basically fallen in love, and they do not know what to do better in spite of the fact there is a feud between the families and they wanted to be together. Center themes of the particular poem is love, fate, miscommunication and tragedy. As you could see, right now we would be able to guess this particular plot was a basic influence for Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where we have two different families, children from two different families who fall in love. They're very young in love, they wanted to be together, and there is a part of miscommunication where the guy thinks the girl is already dead, and then he takes his life, and the girl, when she wakes up from the fake sleep and then she finds the boy dead already, she takes her life. That happens to be the basic theme behind this particular poem, and it is what influenced Shakespeare too and other writers, as I mentioned earlier. The significant transformation of the mulberry tree, which stands as a symbol which we would see throughout the poem. And this is an introduction to Ovid and the Metamorphoses, the original book that this poem is taken from. As we know, Ovid, the Roman poet, is known for his wit and mastery in elegiac couplets. And also this line is 11,000, in this particular work is 11,995 lines, just short of 12,000 lines. A great book which we cannot call it just an epic because of the genre, because it has got myths, histories and other epic tales inside it, which we cannot actually contain with the very word epic itself. It's much more than an epic, but still, when we had to consider it into a genre, we put it as an epic. 15 books, as I mentioned earlier. It consists of transformation of mythology, blending histories, myth and legend. We have Julius Caesar, as I mentioned, the love story, and all of those. We would see all of the world literature and its elements inside this, and then we would know in the 11th CE, somebody like Ovid was able to influence the entire world with just one work, and with all those 12,000 lines already. And then it features gods, heroes, mortals who live in altered love, revenge, divine will. The basic themes of all of the classic world literatures. It combines poetry and storytelling to link disparate myths into a cohesive narrative. So this is a short introduction for Ovid and his Metamorphoses. So the love of Pyramus in Thisbe. As I told you the plot already, Pyramus in Thisbe, we have the poem which mentions Pyramus as the most handsome man of entire Eastern world, and Thisbe the most beautiful girl of all the Eastern girls. That's exactly how the poem reads. And then is hindered by their family's rivalry, forcing them to communicate through a crack in the wall. So there is a wall between the two lovers, and the poem states this wall was not even noticed by the builder himself. And after all these years, only the lovers happen to find, lovers have the ways of finding to connect with each other. This wall is the only place where they were able to communicate. There is a beautiful line that goes on to say, love is a finder in the poem. Look at Ovid's line, must be in Latin when he wrote it originally, But in English it says, love is a finder, where these lovers find the smallest, the tiniest place where they could connect. They would stand on either side of the wall, whisper to each other good night, which would let them embrace themselves in a hug. They would sometimes envy the hole in the wall, saying, why do you have to be envious so that we cannot hug each other? When we are so full of love, you stand in between. But they are also thankful this is the only place where they connect to the other person. They whisper good nights, they share their kiss there, they get to see each other there. And then when they stand on the other side of the wall, they hear the other's heartbeat. That's exactly is what this wall stands for there. And then the passionate love leads them to plan an escape to be together. This wall cannot contain their love forever, because their neighbors, they wanted much more than a whisper, more than a good night, more than a kiss. So they planned their escape to a tomb of Ninus. The tomb of Ninus is somewhere close to a river. So they plan it at night. The second stanza goes on to say how she entered there sly, cunningly, when it's dark, nobody sees her coming out of the house, and then Thisbe makes her way to the tomb. And she waits there next to the mulberry tree because it's cool and shady, and then decides to wait and then think of how he would come, how they would spend the rest of the night together, where she finds a lioness. The lioness comes and she's scared, she wants to run off, she leaves a veil, and the lion, who's come back from a fresh hunt with a crimson blood in its mouth, in its jaws, tries to chase her but catches hold of the veil and then mangles it. She finally escapes and hides herself inside a cave, and then waits for the rest of the night, thinking about how when Pyramus comes, she would narrate this entire story of how she escaped. And it's very thrilling, you know. She has a story now, not just coming out of the house, but also the lioness that she met. And it's a very brave story that she holds with her right now, waiting for Pyramus. And then Pyramus comes. She's now inside the cave. The lioness left with a mangled, bloodied veil close to the mulberry tree. And Pyramus comes, sees it, and then he is very heartbroken. Had I come earlier, I would have saved my girlfriend from the evil lioness and then things. This is my fault, entirely my fault. Why is she here in the middle of the night? It's because of me. If had I come earlier, I would have saved her. So it's my hands that have killed her. Maybe I should take my life along with her. So he draws out a sword and then decides to stab himself. As he stabs himself and withdraws a knife from his chest, the blood splatters all over the mulberry fruit, which is mentioned in the poem as white as snow. So his blood splatters all the way, and then the fruits are bloodied, and then he lies under the mulberry tree with a wound in his chest. The blood from his body enters the roots of the tree. The tree observes his blood and then turns the fruits bloody red. After a while, when she comes out, she thinks this is almost time that the lioness must have left. She comes out, looks at the tree, which has a different color now. There is a different aura in the entire place, and she thinks that something must have happened. If not the lioness have killed her, it must have killed somebody, and there is something not so good happened here. She could feel it in her bones, and then looks at, it's very dark. She finds the body of Pyramus there, and she lifts it up and then says, "Look, Pyramus, it's me, your Thisbe here. Can you hear my name?" she asks endearingly, and then for the last time he opens his eyes, looks at her, and then closes it forever. Then she understands it's just a knife in the heart. So his life is taken not by the lioness but himself. So with his hands he's died, and then she understands it's because of the veil that he saw, and then he must have thought that she had died only because of this miscommunication, that he has killed himself. And then she decides, there's another beautiful line that goes on to say, "Death, you think you have separated me from my lover, and then I choose death so that it may not separate us from forever." So she eventually dies. She takes the same sword, aligns it in the ground in a way that it would, when she falls onto it, it would enter her chest. So she would let it plunge her heart, let the blood flow, and it would reach the mulberry tree again. So two bloods entering the stream of the vein of the tree, it enters through the tree and then forever turning the tree the fruit bloody red. So when mulberry fruit, when the gods hear the prayers, so she says, wretched parents, you must understand the depth of our love. Look what we have done to ourselves, but then at least let's be together even in this death. So the mulberry tree stands there forever in all seasons, producing red, bloody red fruits. The gods heard their prayers and forever turned mulberry tree like that. So whenever we get to see a mulberry tree again or relish a fruit of the tree, then we will understand this true love between these young couple and then how they have taken up their lives. So this tragic love story is, as I told you, the passion overshadowed by misfortune. It's definite misfortune and also miscommunication, where you could have looked for the girlfriend a little longer or somewhere inside the cave. And then, as you could see, the eternal love and sacrifice. Originally, the tree bore. So mulberry tree is the main symbol in the poem, along with the love story. Serves as natural memorial to their love and tragedy. Every time when a couple hold on to a place or to a chain or a ring that the other person has gifted, that will stand forever as the symbol of love. And to their story, it's the mulberry tree. And then, as I told you, the poem has this beautiful line, love is a finder. So through this poem, they found death and also found true love. They emphasize the love's power to inspire boldness, determination. They are young children in their adolescence, but then they chose their brave fate. And this poem is basically, as I told you in the told you prior, it has influenced a lot of world literature. And then, as you could see, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Renaissance literature, modern narratives of love and loss. So this is how world literature bridges cultures, fostering shared understanding through universal themes. We would have watched movies, read short stories and other plays based on this theme, though it's a very repeated common idea, but we know where it is originally taken from. Thank you.